All right, guys, it's Wednesday. I actually started on my brake line stuff last night. Now, some of the stuff I already had it made, but I did have to redo my brake line bracket in the back. I'll show you that in a second. I went with a Wilwood adjustable proportioning valve. I do have room off my floorboard. I have plenty of room. I can still get my hand over it. I use Billet Specialties brake line clamps when I do, and also use them on my frame or my fuel line. It's my preferred ones because they stand it off of the chassis. You know, you get a little bit of space off there instead of the old school like half bracket that just smashes the line up against the frame like a lot of OEM style is. I like the standoff style. To me, it's a little bit more detailed. I just drilled and tapped the frame and did some little countersink stainless Allens that I'll polish. I'll polish these too. I always use the hardware or the auto parts store brake lines. This is a Teflon coating on here, and I love the color. It's like a dark grayish green color, and to me, it's really industrial looking. This is the line I always use. Anyway, I've got several sticks here because I still have to make all of my forward ones, and it's going to have me scratching my head here in a little bit trying to get that front brake line that goes to that other front wheel figured out. I went with Russell braided brake hoses. I just like braided brake hoses, mainly for the look, also the flexibility, of course, but it just looks neater. But I've got the brake line run, pretty high on the chassis, so it's, if somebody does look down, the chassis is up in pretty far, so it'd be kind of hard to see it. It got a little tough back here because I did a Hellwig's rear sway bar, and it really had my brake line bracket already had made in the line vent, and it really was going to create havoc with the articulation of it, so I ended up having to make a new bracket and kick it out away from it. I got plenty of room, but now I never planned on putting tailpipes on the car for exhaust. I have to hole saw the frame rail here, and I've got some pipe to put in there to weld up, and I'm just going to put some turn downs right here. I love the sound of an old school small block with a cam, and I like the turn downs because it really sounds deep when it's coming out from under the car like that. But anyway, I'm real happy with my brake system. I actually drilled and tapped my housing to take the Billet Specialties clamps, and I bent the line pretty precise to go around the carrier there. I had to build my own tabs and everything. Brake lines, they're on the back side of the axle, and it's in case you ever run over something on the highway and it comes up, it doesn't get your brake line because it's on the other side. This is pretty much a show car. I will be driving it, but anyway, I'll put it up here, and the main reason I did is, a lot of guys, when you're at a show or just wherever, they always seem to bend down behind your car and look under, and I really wanted them brake lines not visible from underneath from the back. Anyway, the sway bar it's been quite the mess. This is a Hellwig sway bar for a Tri-5 Chevy. I have never run a rear sway bar on a Tri-5 Chevy, ever. This is a first for me. It did come with some U-bolt style, U-bolt crap to bolt the forward part on, and I just didn't like it. It was cheesy. These brackets here are actually off an F body, like 82 to 92 F body. I ended up welding square nuts in there, and then I got on Energy Suspension's website, and I calipered out everything I needed, and I got my correct bushings, and these are the greasable ones, because this thing will squeak like hell if it's not greased with that urethane on there. I am going to cap these off. I'm going to use some pretty thick steel pieces to go to the end of this, because I do have a little bit sticking out of these. I'm going to cap it here and cap it there, and then grind everything, after I weld it, and basically mold it into the axle. Anyway, this setup came with dog bones, and they were really thick, and once you get it, put together, the bolt is nearly touching the chassis right there. And leaf springs, they do have a little flex, side to side. So that's not good for that. That would be, coming in contact with the bolt on the chassis. So I kind of redid it my own way. I just have to see how it works out. This is just some heavy steel plate, and some energy suspension bushings there. But anyway, reading through the instructions on it, I don't really remember what the rear hole was for, but the center hole on this, it has 3 holes. The center hole is actually for road course racing, autocross. This one is for daily driving, so it's not as harsh. But when you do set it up, you got to set it up off the middle one and get everything set up for it with this being vertical. And that's what I did. I had my hole marked before when I had the body on, and I had the bumper on, and the battery in the back, and the speaker box, and I had a whole bunch of weightlifting weights in the back to mimic a full tank of gas, and the back glass and whatever. But anyway, once I had it weighted in the back and down, that's how I set it vertical. And so anyway, I knew where my hole needed to be, so I actually just did it. I drilled the chassis all the way through, and I put a steel sleeve, 3/8 steel sleeve through there, and I beveled the end of it, and then I beveled my hole. I chamfered it a little bit, and that's how I got it all welded up in there. But anyway, it's a full-length bolt, and I went with ARP 12-point stainless. ARP stainless is not your average hardware store stainless, which is a grade 2. The ARP stainless is stronger than a grade 8. That's why you see it in a lot of cars, race cars and show cars. So I have ARP 12 points for just about everything. Anyway, I'm still running old leaf spring setup. These are Posey Super Slide low leafs. They're a 3-inch drop. And I also have solid 2-inch aluminum lowering blocks. A friend of mine's brother worked at an aircraft place at the CNC operator, and he designed these and built these for me, and they are perfect. He actually put a bushing in there, and it's inside of it, pressed into it for your alignment pin. Really nice pieces, and I almost wish I'd have had him make me 2 sets just in case, but all the ones you buy aftermarket are extruded and they're hollow, and they do crack very easily. But anyway, I did do a lot of smoothing on this axle. Cleaned up off a lot of crap that was on it and just smoothed everything up. Just cleans it up quite a bit, and it has rusted from just setting, but I'll end up going back and blasting it and everything, put all new axle seals in and everything. I do have an aluminum rear cover, the Proform, and it says Perfect Launch on it, and it's actually a girdle. This is a 373 limited slip posi unit. It is just a 10 bolt, so it is a little small of a rear end, but it is disc brake. Like I said, I'm not going to be beating on the car. I'm just going to be driving it and enjoying it anyway. But anyway, I need to get going on these brakes. These brake lines are killing me on time. Of course, the parts store I go to, they're out of the brake line length I need, so I had to go to another parts store to get them. But I did some moving around on my suspension parts. Also, I might add, with the way that sway bar kicks out, I got that nice rear end cover that's going there. It's kind of hard to see, but I actually flattened off an area right here on it. And 150 and 210, 55 and 6 Chevys had a little Chevrolet script that was chrome, just about that long. And I have a brand new one, and I drilled the holes in it, and they're really tight, so that emblem will actually press in there. So I'm going to repaint. I don't like the hammer tone on here, so I'm going to sand all it down smooth, and I'll paint it probably gloss black. But I'll have that chrome Chevrolet script on there, so it'll look really nice. I'll put a little dab of 2-part epoxy in each hole and press that emblem on there. Anyway, back to my shock system. Originally on these cars, the rear shocks went into the rear floorboard, and they were actually forward of the axle. I flip these around side to side, and I've started building some ears here. I will be completely plating these in and building gussets for them, but these will be my new shock hangers on the top. I actually talked to a guy at man, what is the company? Anyway, these are toxic shocks. I basically gave him an extended length and a compressed length, and he hooked me up with the eyelet ends I needed. So I've got all 4 toxic shocks for all the way around, because the front I lowered quite a bit, so I got them just a little bit shorter for the front. ProComp, that's the name of them shocks, that's the brand. But they do make a line of shocks called Toxic Shocks, and they have a little sticker that has a little skull on it. But they are made for lowered vehicles, so it's pretty neat. But anyway, I'm going to get back at it. I got a lot to do, man. I got to run fuel lines, brake lines, rear battery cable will go along that frame rail over there. I mean, there's just lots of stuff I'm going to be scratching my head on. I got a Holley billet fuel filter with the brackets to mount on the frame on this side. And I just got to figure out how to get it through all this mess. You know, the 6-cylinder Tri-5s, you know, the fuel line run on the inside frame rail on this side, but if you got a V8 car, it come on the outside of the frame. So it's kind of funky. It kicks over the frame rail on the top. There is quite a bit of space in between once the body's bolted down. So anyway, guys, I'm going to get back at it. I got a lot to do.